TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Tehran once again threatens Jerusalem, advising its leaders to allocate funds to rehabilitate the devastating consequences of what the Islamic Republic has in store for the Jewish state. Despite EU talks with Iran on efforts to revive nuclear talks with the P5+1 in Vienna, the United States stresses that only direct negotiations will provide the Islamic Republic with tangible answers. A U.S. official confirms that Iran is linked to last week's strike on the U.S. military outpost in Syria. The Islamic Republic of Iran advises Israel to start allocating billions of dollars earmarked for the rehabilitation of the country, asserting a devastating Iranian response to any potential strike against Tehran's nuclear infrastructure. In response to a report unveiling Jerusalem's allocation of roughly $1.5 billion earmarked for a potential strike against Iran's nuclear program, which TV7 broadcast on October 20th, the Ayatollah regime's secretary of its Supreme National Security Council, Ali Shamkhani, published a statement on his Twitter account threatening that the Islamic Republic's response to any Israeli attack would be devastating and shocking to behold. Therefore, Shamkhani, who in effect serves as chief security advisor to the Islamic Republic Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, advised Israel to start allocating tens of billions of dollars for the rehabilitation of the Jewish state. Ironically, however, by trying to make a point, Shamkhani's statement is detached from statements made by his boss, who frequently insists that the state of Israel must be annihilated. And while Jerusalem takes heed of Tehran's criminal intentions, it is undeterred by the rhetoric voiced and is relentlessly preparing for the day of plausible conflict. Speaking at the backdrop of Blue Flag 2021, the most advanced and large-scale international exercise which the Israeli Air Force has ever hosted, Lieutenant Colonel Amnon Shefler highlighted the IDF's persistent efforts to confront the Islamic Republic throughout the region and its ongoing preparations to contend with any threat that challenges the Jewish state.
The IDF continues to prepare for any kind of threat. The Iranian threat is a great threat that IDF deals with it on different levels and challenges. We deal with it from the Iranian nuclear threat to regional expansion that Iran continuously tries to entrench in the whole Middle East. Not only by sending its forces, but also by sending information, knowledge to its proxies, whether it be Yemen, whether it be in the Palestinian arena, especially with the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, or mostly with Hezbollah in Lebanon, where they continuously spend more money and more knowledge on building that force aimed at Israel.
Among Israel's preparatory efforts, the Blue Flag exercise has become a key pillar in preparing the Israeli Air Force for any future scenario in cooperation with international partners and allies. And while operating with foreign air crews raises a long list of challenges, it also grants the Israeli Air Force much added value, which according to the commander of the Israeli Uvda Air Force Base, H, it serves a significant contributor to the national power and strength of the state of Israel.
אנחנו נמצאים היום בתרגיל הגדול ביותר והמתקדם ביותר הבינלאומי שהיה אי פעם בישראל. אנחנו טסים בתרגיל לצד חילות אוויר מארצות הברית, גרמניה, בריטניה, איטליה, צרפת, יוון והודו. בתרגיל אנחנו מתרגלים ומתאמנים לתרחישים שכוללים איומים מהקרקע, איומים מהאוויר, והתמודדות עם משימות בערכות גדולות, כשהדגש של התרגיל הנוכחי זה על שילוב בין מטוסים מדור מתקדם, דור 5, ומטוסים מדורות מוקדמים יותר. האתגר הגדול הוא אתגר השילוב בין מדינות, בין תרבויות ובין דוקטרינות טיסה שונות. ואנחנו בעבודה משותפת, גם עבודת תכנון משמעותית מאוד וגם תוך כדי התרגיל מצליחים ללמוד, מצליחים ללמד ולהתקדם יחד עם השותפים שלנו מהמדינות השונות. התרגיל הוא מאוד מורכב ברמה הטקטית, החל מסוגיות לוגיסטיות וכלה באתגרי שפה, אבל יש לו משמעויות אסטרטגיות משמעותיות מאוד, ואני מאמין ששילוב ושיתוף פעולה בין מדינות ובין שותפים תורם מאוד לעוצמה הלאומית ולחוזק של מדינת ישראל.
While the 2 weeks aerial exercise, which is scheduled to end on October the 28th, focuses first and foremost on boosting Israel's overall defensive capabilities in the region, the respective international air crews voiced deep appreciation of the experience that the Israeli pilots bring to the table.
Luftweg is a very challenging exercise for us. We're flying in scenarios that differ from those that we're usually flying in Germany, and flying those scenarios with all the nations that are participating here is another challenge in itself, because we all have different standards, and we need to integrate quickly, find common solutions for the problem, and then solve the mission to get it effective. Flying with the Israeli pilots showed us that the Israeli Air Force really is a very operational one. The scenarios that we are just experiencing are scenarios that many pilots have flown in life scenarios. So the experience that the pilots have are very valuable for us.
So it's important for the United States to work closely with our allies, and the Israelis have hosted us here, and practicing with them has been a huge learning experience for us. They've put a lot of effort into making sure that all of our other allies, the Italians, the British, everyone else who's here as well, learns how to work together, and that when the time comes, if we need to do something, it's not our first try.
It is interesting to know that alongside the participation of the United States, Germany, Britain, Italy, France, Greece, and India, a number of other regional nations have closely followed the Israeli-led maneuver. One of those nations included the United Arab Emirates, whose Air Force Chief of Staff, Major General Ibrahim Nasser Mohammed El-Olawi, officially visited the drill at Palmachim Air Force Base for the first time. In other yet related news, Iran's chief nuclear negotiator, Deputy Foreign Minister Bagheri Kani, announced that he is scheduled to meet tomorrow with the European Union's political director, Enrique Mora, who essentially acts as the coordinator of the nuclear negotiations in Vienna. The referred to meeting, which is expected to be held in Brussels, will be a second such encounter this month, at a time when the Islamic Republic continues to defy international calls to return to the negotiating table in the Austrian capital. Asked whether the talks with the European Union, which is technically not part of the actual process in Vienna, serves the Iranians as a stalling tactic, U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price highlighted that while supportive of the EU's engagement with Iran, there is no alternative to the so-called JCPOA, which is the technical acronym to the 2015 nuclear agreement. The State Department spokesman further stressed that if Iran wants to receive answers to concrete questions on sanctions relief and other related issues, it should communicate directly with the United States rather than run around the bush.
Look, if Iran's goal, as they say, is a return to the JCPOA, they need to engage, and they need to engage in the Vienna format. No other participant can provide answers on the questions Iran reportedly wants to raise, such as guarantees and sanctions and issues pertaining to the lifting of sanctions. Those are issues that need to be worked out in Vienna with the United States, at least in the indirect format that we had during the first 6 rounds of negotiations.
It is important to mention that Iran has repeatedly said it will return to negotiations, but refused to provide any specific date. In other related news, a U.S. official confirmed to TV7 that an investigation into a combined UAS and rocket strike on the U.S. military outpost in the Al Tanf region of Syria last week was in fact directed by the Islamic Republic of Iran. A U.S. military source initially told TV7 that while the method by which the attack was executed is near identical to those perpetrated against bases housing U.S. service members in Iraq by Iran-backed militias, he refused to attribute at the time definitive responsibility until after a thorough investigation provides clear evidence of those responsible, a position later echoed by Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby.
The Tom Garrison attack, who's responsible for that last week?
Yeah, I'm not in a position to get into attribution at this point. We have seen these kinds of attacks in the past from Shia militia groups, which we know are backed and supported by Iran. But I'm not going to talk to specifics on this particular attack. It was complex. It was deliberate, and thankfully, no U.S. service. We don't have any indications right now that any U.S. service members were hurt.
Following the statement made by Kirby, U.S.-based news agency The Associated Press cited in a report of its own U.S. officials voicing their belief that Iran was behind the referred-to drone attack. Consequently, TV7 spoke to a U.S. military source on condition of anonymity, who confirmed that the investigation had indeed provided tangible proof that links Iran to last week's attack. Thank you for watching us. As part of TV7 Israel's prayer initiative, I would like to encourage you today to join the team and me here in Jerusalem to lift up Sudan in prayer for its people's salvation and peace, alongside prayers for our persecuted brothers and sisters worldwide, in addition to our ongoing prayers, of course, for the peace of Jerusalem and the salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Tov u'Mevorach, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.